you are currently the only person in this conference. You are currently the only person in this conference.
Hello. Nataka kusaidia Githaiga. Ana kama itakuwa sawa.
Kubeta umeshafungua. Hiyo ni kwa is muted.
Shinga. You can hear me? Okay.
Oh, unasikia Shinga? Oh, I think we are okay now. So I hope the screens are in, eh? Yes. Eh? Hello?
Is it clear, Shinga?
Hello? Shinga. I don't know whether YouTube now, students can get it from YouTube. Yeah. Oh, okay. So then let me now go through. I think I hope they are hearing. Maybe the students that are there. Alex, police and our students were back on. Okay, so now hello everybody. So we are very sorry that we had a problem of network. This morning it was a bit difficult to link to the YouTube and the Kenneth, but I think we have sorted that problem. So very fast, we'll go through our lecture. To take you through on this is Dr. Gidaiga. So I think I should appreciate that for the patience that you have had. So our discussion is on factors that encourage transmission of HIV and AIDS. What we'll be discussing is actually not new. Some of these things have been touched by the previous lecturers. And we also see some of these things happening in our society. So I'll be giving some examples. May not go to a specific community, but I'll talk about communities in general. So I hope that along the way, as I discuss this, you also try to think of things that you have seen happening, and you come up with some examples too, which will also form part of the discussion that I've given you at the end. So, we have grouped these factors under several things. So we have the socio-cultural factors, and one of them is what we call polygamy. We know that polygamy is embraced in some communities where the husbands have several wives, could be more than one wife. Nowadays, we also hear of polyandry, where we have a wife. So we see it on social media. We have a wife with several husbands. So I don't know whether that's true, but these things are reported. So now, when we have such families, so you find that now there is that big network of sexual partners, and this now predispose these partners to the infection of HIV and the development to AIDS. Sometimes, especially where we have the husband with his several wives, because sometimes so the wives may not have that ability to question the husband. Sometimes you find that there is a new partner or a new wife, and when this person is coming in, sometimes there is even no testing for this virus. So you find that if somebody is joining this family and is infected, then so the other wives have that possibility of getting infected with this disease. I think again, because these wives are dependent on the husband for everything. Sometimes you find that they cannot even be able to question or even negotiate for safe sex. or sexual activity. Then that's polygamy. Number 2 is patriarchy. So you find that in households, it's what we call male domination, so I have touched on the previous topic, previous point that so because of the economic dependence on this husband, so the wives have no say. You also find that in some communities, so that is women are supposed to be subordinate to the males, so they follow without questioning anything. So so you find that the husband could be going out and so cannot be questioned. This now creates a stance for transmission of the disease. Then another social or cultural factor is early marriages. So again, you find that in some communities, underage girls are married, and maybe because the parents, and especially the father, want to become rich, so want to get cows. So we find that maybe a girl who could be sexually mature, but physiologically is a child, getting married to another person, and so they are. So this now makes this girl vulnerable to a contraction of HIV and AIDS. I know this was touched that for these young girls, one is that so the vaginal membranes are very soft, so so is subject to tear. Especially if there is that interaction with this experienced old husband. So apart from that, because of this young age, so the girl, one may not have the ability to negotiate for safe sex, and another one could be ignorant, and so she ends up becoming vulnerable to contraction of the disease. Maybe I think on this point on ignorance, so this young girl may not even be knowledgeable on the use of contraceptives, or cannot even question the husband, cannot even request for use of the safe sex devices because of fear of the old person the guy is married to. Then there's this point on gender inequality and the marital obligations. So you find that after marriage, then now, so now the women, so have women or even the male, so the partners or the spouses have an obligation to provide sexual activity to their partners. And they have also mentioned that so this now as an obligation to married couples, and again sometimes there is no use of safe sex devices, and they have also mentioned that sometimes if one could be suspicious of the partner, and they may be request for use of the condom, then you find that this person will be accused of infidelity, and it becomes a problem. So you find that globally, so there is quite rapid spread of infection of HIV and AIDS among the married couples. So either among the heterosexuals, and even now we hear of the homosexuals. So it's a big problem in the society. Then we have what we call harmful cultural and traditional practices. So we find that in some communities there's some cultural practices that encourage transmission of HIV and AIDS. One is in circumcision. So I recall in a previous topic you learned that while circumcision for boys is accepted in some communities, so the good thing with that is that it is practiced in healthy facilities, so where hygiene is observed, unlike the FGM, which is illegal. And the fact that it's illegal is practiced in unhygienic environments. So people will do it in hiding, and in most cases there is the sharing of those cutting devices which predispose the girls to HIV and AIDS. Then we also have some traditional practices that are embraced by some communities in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, of wife inheritance. Sometimes you find that so if the wife will be inherited by maybe the wife, the widow, let's say the widow, maybe the husband could have died of AIDS, and this wife now become inherited by somebody. So this gives a chance for this person to be inherited, transmitting the virus to another person, and they assuming that this person who is inheriting is married. So means that now there is that possibility of the virus now moving on to the other, to the spouse, and even to the children that are likely to come in that marriage. So that's and then it has also been discussed the issue of tattooing and the sterilization. So you recall in another lesson you learned about that. So you find that this is done to the young people, and also to even in some communities we find that it is a traditional practice, and it creates an avenue for transmission of the virus. Then there is the gender-based violence. So this can happen within families or even outside families. For example, we have heard of what we call the marital rape. So we have had those cases in social media, so even in the courts of law, where the husband become violent, and sometimes so the husbands could be moving out, and if their wives are suspicious and they deny them sexual activity, then they become violent, and at the end we have what we call the marital rape. We also have in society, we have those cases of rape by relatives and also by those by other people, and then so if somebody is infected, then so there is a chance of transmitting the virus to other people. So I think these things are there are things that we hear being reported, they are not hard to follow. Then we have the stigma and taboos. Again, so in the society sometimes it is considered a taboo to talk about or to provide information or education to the young. So if these things are not discussed, then the young become ignorant on activities that they can engage in that can predispose them to contraction of HIV and AIDS. You also find that again it is considered a myth to discuss about these diseases. We also find that sometimes people get infected by the virus and also which develops into AIDS. But then people will not believe that these people have died of this disease. So sometimes people will associate the death to witchcraft, and or when somebody is infected, so people will not agree that it's a virus, but they will not even seek medical attention because the society does not believe that there is such a disease. And then in that process, you find that the virus, the disease is transmitted because of these misconceptions. Then there is the issue of religion, whereby we find that some faiths one discourage discussion about the use of contraceptives. They tell their faithfuls that issues like the use of condoms, use of the should not be used. So when they preach this to their faithfuls, then so that will discourage them from embracing safe sex. So you know of some faiths that hold to that. Sometimes you find that even the government sometimes may plan to introduce in the curriculum sex education to pupils in schools, but then you find that some religion comes, they oppose that strongly, that this not a subject to be discussed to the children, and so in that then this children who could be active in sexual interaction, so they end up contracting this disease. Then apart from that, still in some religions, so women are supposed to be submissive, so they cannot question anything at their husbands, and then that brings encourage transmission of the disease. then we also have some religions that denounce homosexuality to fuel stigma against those who engage in same-sex behavior. So yes, we know in some parts of the world and also some religions, homosexuality is embraced, and in other areas it's not embraced. So now, so when people are practicing homosexuality, and so it is a conduit for transmission of the disease, and if that's accepted in society, and then the religion are discouraging the use of these safe sexual devices, then they become vulnerable to the transmission of the disease. Then there is yes, there is the issue of poverty. Poverty makes people, both men and women, vulnerable to transmission of disease because so they need some favors. So they end up giving in to sex. Maybe like when people lack food, they lack money. And then there are people willing to provide them in exchange of sexual activity. Then you find that they give in. So we have had cases of where we have the fishing villages. You find that the men who are usually the fishermen will offer. So you find that there is a chain or a network of women who are in poverty. So they'll be waiting for favors, so exchange of fish with sex. So in that case, so they compromise their health because of seeking those sexual favors. So we also find that because of high poverty levels, especially to the unemployed people, both in the rural areas, but more commonly in the urban areas where cost of living is high, you find that underage girls will end up in sex business because of not that they are willing, but because of the economic challenges. So they end up compromising their health. So I think I've discussed that. So we've discussed how people will end up because of these economic challenges, so they end up to prostitution. And then there is lack of education and training. So though now things are changing, because previously we had in some communities male education was more preferred than female education, and nowadays things have changed. So you find that now more girls are in education than boys. So these imbalances now hinder the passing of sex education to either the gender, depending on the imbalance in the levels of education. And you find that now, so education indirectly will have an influence on. So education will have an influence on employment opportunities. So you find that if there is no education, then even getting some form of employment also becomes a challenge. So these people will end up in poverty, and then we have seen what poverty will drive to. So we find that people will end up in this sex business. And then there is this point on lack of access to productive resource or income. So this problem is more common to women. So again, nowadays, things are changing because now it's becoming acceptable for women also to inherit land. And we know land is the source of wealth, source of food, shelter, etc. So now with a piece of land, somebody can be able to do farming, get food, and whatever else, or can use the land to acquire credit facility. But now land has been an asset owned by men, and the women have been denied access to or ownership of land. So and then when they are denied that, then some of them are supporting families, then they become poor and dependent on men, and so they can end up in prostitution or compromising their health for sex in order to survive. So that's what I've discussed here. And then there is what we call the societal changes. That is, nowadays there is a lot of information coming, especially through the social media. So we have now what we are calling commoditization and the merchandising of sex by media and entertainment industry. So you find there are so many programs now that we have so many channels in both radio and the TV, and you find that so they come up with so many programs that sometimes they make the young become exposed to this sex business at an early age. So you know of examples of these programs in the radio and also the TV. So that they teach about relationships, and well, this should be for the old, but you find that so they come to air when everybody is watching, and so they contribute a lot to the spread of the virus and the disease. So all those points have been under the category of socio-cultural factors. Now we have what we call the behavioral factors. So one is what we call promiscuity, or in common language, prostitution. So prostitution is a vice in society all over the world, whereby because of many issues such as poverty, violence, we have divorce, all this. So you find that people, there are so many things that can lead people to prostitution. And now in prostitution, we find that this becomes a big network of people that have sexual interaction, and some of them now could be infected, and they will easily transmit the virus to others. So we find that especially along the major highways, we find those small townships. So some of them become dens of prostitution, especially because of the long distance truck drivers. This is where they rest, and because they have some money to spend, then you find that there's this big group of people who want to get this easy money, and then that spreads, and some of these people could be family people, could be husbands of wives. So when they engage in prostitution, then this might end up in the families, and the virus will be spread. So that's a behavior, bad behavior in the society. We also have multiple sexual partners. Yes, this can be linked to prostitution, or sometimes this may not be considered as exact as prostitution, because we could have a married person with somebody outside marriage. We can also have the underage people, so we could be having a boyfriend with several girlfriends, or it could be vice versa, because we can also have a girlfriend with several boyfriends. So if this group is engaging in unprotected sexual activity, then we find that it becomes an easy way of transmitting the virus among the society. The issue of drug and alcohol use has been discussed previously, so that the drug users, especially the youth, so they will share. One is that they will share those injections, so which becomes a conduit for transmission of the disease. We also said it was also discussed that when somebody is in drug abuse, cannot be able to make a good judgment like on safe sex, so the person becomes vulnerable to transmission of the disease. So that was discussed extensively in a previous topic. Then there is blood transfusion. Blood transfusion, and also the issue of organ or tissue transplants. Here the risk is minimal, because in most cases this is done in hospitals and the appropriate care is taken. But we have heard of few cases where this has happened, where proper screening was not done, and then somebody gets infected. I think it was last year. So it was reported that most, like half of the blood that was in the blood bank was. So after some testing, it was found to carry the virus. So if the blood in the blood bank is having the virus, and then maybe without proper screening, this transfused to a needy person, then that can be an avenue. But of course, we have said that it can happen, but so the risk are minimal, because that's done in hospitals and the appropriate care is done. So previously we had the sharing of the needles, but nowadays again in hospitals now, so they use the disposable needles, so at the syringes. So again, this can be a route for transmission of the virus, but again, the risks are minimal. So we have what we call the skin piercing devices when used again. So it can be a route for the spread. Then we have the occupational exposures. Here, so people working in certain environments can be predisposed to transmission of the virus, like the health workers. So especially if they are harboring, without the proper care, if they are harboring people who are infected, then so they can get infected again. So the risk here is not very high because health workers know how to take appropriate care. We also have the handling of accident fixed things, like by the Good Samaritans, and also we have the police. So if they are not, if they don't take appropriate care, then that can be a route for the transmission of the virus. So I think that's all. So because of the interest of time, I know we have to meet. That's why I've gone through these points. I think you have been able to follow. So again, I'm grateful that you are patient and we have been able to go through this. So now quickly, so we can now, I think I will not have a chance to respond to questions. So let's meet our lecturers in the rooms, so that in case there is a question that you want to ask in relation to this, then the lecturers will be in a position to handle that. So, asante sana. Yes.